All right, guys, welcome to another episode with Programming with Shakim. And today we're going to be talking about all of the top mistakes I've seen people make. And I'm also going to talk about some of the mistakes that I have made too. So, what are the top 10 mistakes that people usually make when they are getting into programming or engineering for the first time? Well, the number one mistake I see people make is they don't know what type of questions to ask. Number one, the only difference between a junior developer, a senior developer, a product manager, a scrum lead, a lead engineer, all of these different titles that people have are just based on the types of questions that they ask. One of the biggest mistakes juniors make is being afraid to look dumb or to look inadequate because they don't want to ask questions. However, this is a mistake that I made very early on in my career is that I didn't want to appear that I didn't know or that I didn't know enough. And instead, I didn't ask questions. And then when it was time to actually deliver on a project, I found myself behind schedule. So when you don't ask enough questions, it doesn't bode well for your overall perception from the managers, from the people on the team, because they are always looking for people that are curious. code, but you also need to be able to understand what the needs of your business are. And those are some key things that will separate a beginner programmer from a senior programmer. Mistake number 4, trying to code too fast. So, how I like to explain my process when I code is that I always go back to some of the physics classes that I took in high school, where we talked about speed and velocity. So, speed has to do with how far you get over time, whereas velocity has to do with the position or the direction that an object is over a certain amount of time. And so, this is how you should think about your career, your job, your task that you get. You should be thinking, what position am I putting myself in? Not how fast I'm getting there, because it's a marathon. It's really not a race. And so another example that I use is the example of a car. So this is the same image twice, but the second image is more helpful because it's telling you not only is the car moving at 60 kilometers per hour, but it's also moving in a direction that's facing towards the east. So that is how you should think about your career. You should be thinking about, what direction am I going in with this task? You shouldn't just be thinking like, did I get this done in 1 day, 2 days, 3 days? But overall, what position is your code in by the time you're done? Mistake number 5, not understanding the problem domain and the solution domain of the business. So this is something that's common because people often join projects after they've initially started. Usually when you join a project at the beginning, this is not so much of a problem. But a lot of people end up coming into projects after they've been up for years and working with people that, are a little more advanced as far as understanding the business. So what is the problem domain and what is the solution domain? Well, the problem domain is the problems that the business has as far as how they make money, how they track certain information about their customers, and how they try to improve that process. The solution domain is a problem that's been turned into a solution that's been augmented by something technical. So when you understand the problems that your business has, then you can better pivot yourself to solve those problems quickly. Another way to look at it is, when you're trying to understand the problem domain, you can look at some of the similar problems that the business has had before. Again, this comes from experience, and this comes also from just reading enough information about a company that you're working for. And goes back to one of my previous points about software development not just being about the code that you write, but about the problems that the business has that you're working for. Mistake number 6 is not understanding software architecture. So here's a common example of some software architecture that's broken down into layers. And by understanding these different layers, such as the business layer, the data layer, the services layer, and the layer that the user actually sees, which is the UI layer, you can understand the flow of data throughout your application. If you only understand one part of your application, then if something goes wrong, you'll never be able to figure out exactly what broke. Okay. And this also relates to testing, because testing allows you to have security and confidence in the code that you're writing. Mistake number 7 is that a lot of people get very comfortable when they've known a certain technology or a certain tool for a very long time. And this causes people to not constantly feed their brain new information and new techniques. This can cause you to quickly become outdated. Mistake number 8 is learning how to learn quickly. Because a lot of times on projects, you may be asked to do something that you've never done before. And so a lot of these job descriptions are just technical requirements. But once you actually start working for a company, you'll realize that they don't mind hiring people that don't have, 5 years of experience in a particular tool. They prefer people that can pick up new information and new knowledge quickly. And if you have that skill, if you know how to learn quickly, or if you know how to optimize and streamline and constantly improve your ability to learn things, then that will always keep you in a secure position. Because even if you don't know something, you'll be able to iterate on that solution quickly and get feedback. Practice makes permanent. So practice right. It's not always about practicing just to practice, but it's what you're practicing and if it matches what you'll eventually need to do in the real world. In fact, when I think about developing, I often compare it to competitive sports because you have to have that drive to want to perform consistently at your highest potential level. So it's different from exercising because your level of arousal and your level of focus and whatever level of brain power that you have going into the day is going to go up and down during the day depending on what you're doing. And so keeping yourself in a flow, keeping yourself organized, managing your time and managing how you're thinking about the problems that you're trying to solve, that will allow you to perform at your best. Mistake number 9 that I see a lot of people make is they don't blend well with the team. They don't take the time to actually be sociable and to become a team player because it requires you to work very collaboratively with other people. And when you're coming from a computer science 4 year, 5 year master program, a lot of it is based on your own individual effort. It has nothing to do with you working successfully in large groups. So you have to have this mentality that even though you're writing your own code, you're going to be reading other people's code. You're going to be giving other people pointers and introducing new people to the team, and also working closely with the business and presenting information to them. So if you understand that you are a part of a team, then it can help you adapt to your new job or your first job a lot better. And another key thing that I always think about is performance and how performance is measured. So this is one of those DORA metrics that measures successful, effective teams. And what it shows is that teams that are able to deploy constantly, teams that are able to take a task and start working on it quickly, do very well. Teams that are able to make changes when they make mistakes and to bounce back from those mistakes and those outages are able to do very, very well. And mistake number 10 that I've seen so many people make is not valuing feedback. And so, your job as a software engineer, no matter junior, mid level, or senior, is to always be getting feedback, whether it's feedback from your users, feedback from your product managers, feedback from your teammates, your QA engineers, your quality assurance people, your IT people. The goal is to always be getting feedback. And by being receptive and open and willing to get feedback, you can improve very, very quickly. So I hope you guys enjoyed this quick video about the 10 most common mistakes that junior developers make. And I will see you guys in the next show.